Good all, and absolutely welcome back to South Africa, and this is South African Prepper. So, as we're winding down towards the holiday season and Christmas time, it's very important to take a bit of a break. Switch off your internet, switch off your phones, switch off YouTube, and spend much needed time with your family and your friends. As we look towards 2022, here in South Africa, we actually have two major things that we are really looking at that are signs that 2022 will not be better. So, for this video, we'll quickly discuss the two major red flags for us in South Africa, and that's going to impact the world greatly. And then some tips for next year, which you as a prepper can implement to actually survive the shit show coming to this world. Stay tuned. So absolutely welcome back to that lovely intro. So the two major things happening in the world is number one, the money crisis, the debt crisis. And money basically affects everything in our lives. From the debt that we incurred, buying and selling, trading throughout the world. Now, a lot of people think the rand has been doing well, but in actual fact, the rand has been doing extremely bad against a very poor dollar. And we can see this with the inflation rates. We can see this with the US dollar not doing too well against other currencies. And this is partly because of 40 years of printing money from nothing. If you go back into history, money used to be backed by gold. About 40 years ago, they stopped doing that. Now they've got the ability to print as much money as they can print, or as much as they need. And this is true for every single country in the world. Our monies are not backed by any substance, any gold anymore. The second problem the world faces is an energy crisis. Now, I do believe that it is a crisis that is man-made. Let's call it man-made. It's the same as this thing currently, where certain things are imposed upon you. You're told you need to do this and that. The energy crisis in South Africa specifically, suddenly South Africa got a fine of something like 400 billion rand because of we are now polluting the air. Now, I'm not sure where this money is going to go, but apparently we need to switch off 2/3 of our coal plants because we are now polluting the world too much. So if you're in South Africa, you know blackouts, you know load shedding. It is a normal thing. We've been living with it for more than 10 years now. So the world is facing an energy crisis, and the energy crisis is definitely going to increase the supply of food. It's going to increase the price in food. It's going to become a big problem for business. People are going to lose their jobs even more. Businesses are going to close even more. And if you're in South Africa, the threat of a grid collapse is on the cards. So you need to be ready for a grid down situation in South Africa. Because grid down, doesn't matter where you are in the world, is going to cause civil unrest. It's going to cause some things that are going to be horrific, and it's going to be terrible. So those are the two things that we see as red flags for 2022. Is definitely a money collapse in the world. and then a power crisis in this world. So how do we as preppers deal with these two threats that is happening in the world? And it's quite funny because each and every single country in this world is currently facing the same things, exactly the same things. Doesn't matter if you're in Australia or China or in America or South Africa or somewhere in Europe, in England or France or Italy, you're facing exactly the same problems. So we've been implementing the last year and a half a few strategies, and these are hard strategies. They're not easy to implement. It does take a bit of time, but it makes us comfortable in the fact that us as a family going forward can actually survive the coming years, which is not going to be much easier than 2020 and 2021. So my tips for you is number one, get out of debt. Okay, if this means selling your house and your car and getting a smaller house or smaller car, okay, that's what you need to be doing. You need to get out of debt. Okay, they're going to change the paper money to digital money, and they're going to try and control you with that. So get out of debt as much as you can. Even if you have to go buy that smaller car, even if you have to sell your house, go live with family, or possibly move from a house to an apartment, but you need to get out of debt. Number two is you need to take your children out of public and private schools, and you need to be teaching your children on your own. We've looked at the schooling of kids in South Africa, and I can tell you, I can teach any kid much better than any teacher in this country with the current system that they have to teach, with the curriculum that they use. Teach your children yourself, because at this stage they are teaching your kids a whole lot of nonsense, critical race theory and sex theory, and I don't know, a whole lot of shit. Nothing practical, nothing that they can actually go and use as a grown-up. So my suggestion is get your kid out of public school and actually start teaching your kids on your own. The third little tip we have is you need to be growing your own food. Okay, you need to make a plan to grow your own food. Okay, now it's a process. It's a process. It takes time. You start with a little bit, and then you add on. You make your gardens bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to a place where you can pretty much feed your family, let's say 50 or 40% out of this garden. Okay, people need to become self-sufficient. And then our last little tip is you need to move away from being reliant on the government. In South Africa, that means getting off the grid, getting your own power. Okay, we need to separate ourselves with the government, because the government is busy with plans to control everybody. Okay, and we need to move away from them. We must not be reliant on any government anywhere in the world. And that is what preppers essentially are. Preppers are people that prepare for the unforeseen, in this case, which the governments of this world are actually creating. So you guys must have a lovely Christmas. We want to thank all of the subscribers the last 6 months, the channel watchers, the guys that always comment. Thank you very much. Have a blessed 2021 and a happy new year for everybody. And take a rest and let us prepare for 2022. South African Prep out.